I want to share with you what I've learned about core values and how you use them to build a business. For me, our core values started with water. Now, just track with me here for a second. Water and drinking water has never been something that I particularly like to do. I never used to like to work out. I never used to like to eat healthy. And I was sitting in the audience at an event where the speaker, who happened to be Elena Cardone, was talking about discipline means doing the things that you say that you're going to do. And I was like, shoot, I never do the things that I say that I'm going to do. And I thought that they had to be these big lofty things that needed to be done, like run a marathon or I don't know, just crazy goals that people have that are really intense. And then she started talking about her water goals and how when she didn't used to have discipline, the way that she would get confidence through gaining discipline was in small daily things. And for her, her small daily thing was drinking water. And I was like, well, I might not be able to tell myself to do things and actually have myself do massive things like running a marathon, even though I secretly might want to do that maybe one day. But I think I could drink 100 ounces of water a day, even though I hate water. It was a way for me to build up discipline. So I started drinking water, and this was almost 5 years ago. And through drinking water, it's the most magic thing. I actually did gain discipline. And when you have discipline, let's walk to my office. When you have discipline, you're able to feel better about yourself. You're able to, when you say that you're going to do something, actually do it. And as that relates to building a business, if you can't do the things that you tell yourself to do, when you're building a business and you become a leader, that's going to be the thing that you struggle with your team members. You're going to be wanting them to do things that you've asked them to do and that they've likely told you that they want to do, but don't have this muscle yet. They don't have the ability to be disciplined. They can't do the thing that they say that they're going to do, even though they know it's good for them. I mean, think of the New Year's resolution statistics. How many people set a New Year's resolution and by February, the resolution is long gone. They've not even moved forward. There's been no change. People set goals for themselves all the time where they say that they're going to do something. They tell themselves they're going to do something. They don't actually do it. So for me, this discipline thing as a leader is the thing that I can really stand firm on and really know that I have confidence in. When I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I do that thing. And it's not necessarily for them. It's for me to feel the confidence to when I ask somebody else to do something, I expect that they do it. And then when they're a leader, because the team grows, they're then doing the same thing with their team members. When they tell their team members to do something, they do it. But you have a really hard time holding people accountable, which is my second core value for success. You have a hard time holding someone else accountable if you're not willing to hold yourself accountable to something. And accountability to me also has this weight of, man, if I'm accountable to my role as the president of our organization, if I'm accountable to my role as a leader to 15 different team members, and then I'm accountable for their success with their team members, that means that this entire environment, I have this level of responsibility for. I have to make sure that I understand what's going on, that I can help what's going on, that I see issues. I don't just, because I'm not directly responsible, directly accountable for the result, that I just let it go. No, I'm ultimately accountable if we succeed or if we fail. And I have team members that help me with those things, but ultimately that accountability falls on me. So accountability follows that discipline. And the following core value is if you can't be inspirational in that process, accountability and discipline sound really harsh. They're almost I kind of think of them as angry core values. Not angry, but maybe just intense. They're really intense core values. And most people don't naturally love discipline and accountability. But you marry that with the core value of inspiration, creating energy in an environment. You can tell when a leader is really great at leading through the way that they communicate and the way that the room changes when they're there and the way that the direction and the literal power of them being in there has an influence on the outcome of whatever you're doing. And I experience this all the time when Brandon comes into a room or when Grant comes into a room or when these high power, amazing, remarkable, influential people come into the room. the energy changes. The way people respond to them changes. They have true influence. And it's because of their ability to be inspirational. And the pill that I really had to swallow 4 or 5 years ago was like, I haven't done anything yet that's very inspirational. I've played it safe. I've let my insecurities allow me to just be a shadow of myself. I didn't want to take big risks. I kind of just wanted to be in the background. And when I realized, man, nothing that I've done is inspirational yet, instead of just letting that feeling be brushed off and making me feel good about myself, like, oh, Natalie, you're only 25. You don't need to have done something inspirational. I'm like, well, wait a second. There's a lot of people who are 25 who have done really freaking cool things, and I haven't done any of those things because I just play it small, and I'm nervous, and I'm uncomfortable, and I'm insecure. When you take on the responsibility of being inspirational, being somebody that when people are around you, they're inspired, they see a different version of themselves, they want to do bigger things. When you think about that, you're like, oh man, that means I actually have to do it first. And so inspiration, discipline, accountability are these core tenets for core values. But to me, they're not the only things that have helped. See, the next level is transparency. How transparent are you in what you're sharing, what the goals are, being really clear about, okay, this is the picture. And you're an open book to an extent where you're able to really share with people, this is what's happening. And I have to be honest and I have to be direct in my communication. I'm not going to be fluffy. I think everybody's been around a leader that's once they're in the leadership role, then all of a sudden they start to change a little bit and they start to kind of I'll describe it as hiding the ball. They won't actually have the real conversation because they're afraid to have the real conversation because it's uncomfortable. Well, that's lack of transparency. And so transparency as a core value has really been beneficial to scaling our business, because when a team member comes to me and is asking for feedback, I'm going to give them honest feedback. And ideally, if there's an issue, I'm going to be transparent about that ahead of time so that they aren't second guessing themselves. One of the worst things that you can do in a business that I've witnessed and experienced firsthand was have people just constantly be on their toes about, well, what are they really thinking? Because you know that in one conversation, you're one way, and then in another conversation, you're another way. And you don't have the same point of view. You don't have the same communication with both people. You're not really being transparent. I'm going to talk crap about Joe behind Joe's back, but in front of Joe, I'm not going to give him any of that real feedback. Instead, you should be known as a person that's oh man, I'm giving Joe the feedback that he needs, and it's hard for me to do that. But this feedback is required because Joe is held back due to his unknowingness of these things that he does in these meetings that really turn the rest of the group off and make them not productive. And so transparency as a core value is it's uncomfortable. I hate it when I have to be transparent. I really do. I'm do I really have to tell this person that the presentation that they made was not very engaging and I saw a couple people sleeping in the audience? Do I have to give that feedback? I kind of do. And as a core value, if I'm man, if I'm wrestling with this, I'm if I am transparent, I'm going to give that person feedback, not to make them upset or to hurt their feelings, but to share with them, hey, this is what the response was. And then here's how we can work together to make a different impact and to change something and go in a different direction. Transparency really feeds into this next core value that I have used successfully to create and duplicate myself in our teams across our organizations over and over and over again, which is this core value of alignment. You can have inspiration, there's rah, there's energy in the team, people are accountable, they hit deadlines, they do what they say that they're going to do. They have a good level of transparency about having candor in the conversation and being just open and honest about feedback. But if the whole team isn't aligned with where the organization is going, and I want to share this because this is one of those things that I'm most struggling with today where our business is at. We're over $100 million in revenue, and the most challenging core value to live up to every day is alignment. What are we doing to keep our team aligned? What are we doing to keep everybody in the organization aligned with the direction, aligned with new decisions, aligned with potentially new opportunities? The alignment becomes it starts to get a little bit clunky, and alignment conversations can be really difficult and easily avoided because one person wants to go one direction and another person wants to go in a different direction. And as a leader, if you're not the one that's saying this is the direction, and you kind of abdicate that to your team members, but you're not on the same page, you're going to find that your business is going down a direction that somebody else wants to go, but that you as a business owner never actually made the decision around. So getting people on the same page by saying, this is where we're going, this is our North Star, this is how we do what we're doing, and this is why we do what we're doing. For us, those three things would be: our mission is why we do what we do. We're here to help 1 million business owners have 10x results inside their organizations and achieve their personal, professional, and financial goals. The where is we want to be able to impact 1 million business owners. That's nuts. That's still, to me, to this day, crazy. It's like, are we really going to make that impact 1 million business owners? Okay, great. Yes, we're still going to do that. And then these core values are the how we do that. But constantly getting back to this like alignment. How do you use those things when somebody is going down a different direction, or they're excited about something new, but you as a business owner are like, wait a second, that's not what I want to do. That's not the direction that I want to go. How do you get people back into alignment? And if you're not constantly stressed with this and your team isn't putting pressure on you, I'd say that's probably a bad thing, because you should be having team members who want to do new things and want to create opportunity. That's a beautiful thing, because that leads into my 6th core value, which is results. You can deal with a little bit of lack of alignment if at the end of the day you hit the freaking target. If you hit the target and everything just like it works, you're good. The alignment, and maybe you like acquiescing some of your leadership responsibilities to a team member who has an idea, who's bought into the idea, you know if it was a good idea, whether or not you hit results. So just having alignment, that's where all of these things kind of start to merge together, because you can't have 5 without the 6. You can't have 1 without the other. If you have alignment and then you're saying, great, we're on the same page for you to go do this thing, even though I'm not fully bought into this decision, it only works and it's only productive if that 6th core value comes into place, which is you're ultimately making the determination if that was the right decision based off of the results. If the results aren't there, it doesn't matter what somebody felt, it doesn't matter what they saw, it doesn't matter what they thought was going to happen. None of that happened. The result was it was unsuccessful. Therefore, you have to get back in alignment with your team on what are we doing, where are we going, how are we going to get there, and then move down the path and use results to ultimately determine, was this the right thing? And so this combination of all 6 of these things in our culture has created this really great flexibility around, I don't have to be as nitpicky with people on certain processes or certain things that they're not doing, because ultimately I can ask them this question, which is this in alignment with our core value of being disciplined? If somebody doesn't show up on time, do I have to say, well, the policy said that you're supposed to show up at 8? Or do I have the ability to say, well, what happened to us being disciplined? Because it's a code that we've all agreed to. So how do you implement this in a business? The best way that I've seen this implemented is through ensuring that the people that join your organization are these things, your 6 core values. And so in our organization, we actually have our team members interview and use our core values as one of the filtering mechanisms for if we're going to hire them. So right before we extend an offer letter, we say our final step in our interview process is for you to make a presentation on how you represent our 6 core values. And once they've said, I am these 6 things, I'm inspirational, I'm disciplined, I'm accountable, I'm aligned, I'm transparent, and I'm results oriented. And these are all the ways that I am those 6 things. Once they're in your environment, because you already told them ahead of time, this is what we are, we're making sure you are these things too. When you hold them to those things, there isn't as much resistance, because you already knew ahead of time, this is what we're doing, this is who we are, this is how we're going to work here in this organization, in this environment. And you can use these things as like a code, as like this moral code, it's maybe not a moral code, more like a rules of engagement code, to where if people aren't doing those things, you hold them accountable to those things. And if they continue to not live into your core values, they probably aren't a fit for your organization. And this kind of creates this like ever evolving cycle of, as your business grows, you have to become more inspirational, and more disciplined and more accountable and more transparent and more aligned and more results oriented. And as you become more of these things, your expectations of your team members are to become more of these things, and their expectations of their team members are to become more of these things, and their expectation of their team members, right? This is this scaling, this like structure that I'm talking about. It's almost like an org chart. The person at the top becomes and develops more with the expectation that other people develop more. And your organization has the capacity inside of it to grow as long as the people leading it at every level of leadership continue to develop their responsibility to these successful core values. So I would love to just like give a little behind the scenes with our team members on what their favorite core value is and potentially how the core values process in the interview impacted their decision to work with us. So let's just take a little tour. Okay, I officially have the interview mic, so let's just find some team members around here. This is our Miami office, by the way. I think the last Employees in the Wild that I did was in Scottsdale. These people actually work in Scottsdale. Hi, guys. Okay, so what is your favorite Cardone Ventures core value? Can I give you the mic? Yeah. Are you comfortable with the mic?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say probably between being inspirational and results oriented, between those two. Obviously, you have to inspire people to want to do great things, but being results oriented is the execution of the inspiration. So I would say those two coincide for me really, really strongly.
Okay, so when you interviewed first with us and we did the core values presentation, like because we're talking to business owners who probably don't do this yet, and trying to explain like why it would be a good thing, why it's beneficial. So like walk me through, as a team member who experienced this process, what your thoughts were, what your takeaways were, and how that experience went for you.
Yeah. So for me, I think the biggest thing was understanding that I had a company that cared more than anything, because a lot of times you go in and it's a company saying, what can you do for me? What do you bring to the table? What happened in this part of your resume? It wasn't a lot of that. It was a lot of, this is what we're trying to drive to do. Where do you fit into that process? And it made me realize like my personal, professional, financial goals more so than anything. And I was able to get more clarity on actually what I wanted out of my own life just by going through that process.
Oh my gosh. Makes me so happy. Okay, are you are paid? Like, did I ask you to say any of this? I mean, I get that you're paid, but like, did I ask you to say any of this?
No, not at all.
Are you a real person? Can you blink twice?
Real person, not a robot, I promise. Been with the company for about 6 months and probably one of the best decisions I made in my life.
Love that. Okay, thank you. Yes, next up, that was a little bit hard to follow. I'm just gonna be honest on that. So, favorite core value?
So my favorite core value has got to be transparency. I think just the level of transparency that exists inside of this company is it's remarkable, honestly. And just going through that interview process on my end and seeing how black and white things were made it very easy for me to make the decision to say, you know what, if I'm going to show up to this company, I'm going to go all in, or I'm just going to tell them that I won't now.
Interesting.
So,
okay. So on transparency, besides the interview process, what else do you see that we do that is transparent to you?
Yeah. I think that just target, like keeping very clear targets, and having meetings every day about what our wins were from the previous day and where we are on track to hit our targets. I think that's like super like transparent, but also like it's super open door. It's kind of like an open door policy where like you're able to ask, hey, like where are we? And you'll get a direct answer. It's not like, oh, just go check up with that person and see how things are. From that standpoint, it's very clear. And then also like just being on my end, like being very, very clear about what my targets are as a personal person that's working in here, and just saying, hey, like this is what I want to accomplish. And then just being able to be given an actual path to follow through with that. That was
freaking fantastic. This makes me so happy. Should we try to find some other team members? Okay, we're just going to like walk around and see. Hey, Tristan, don't hate me. He might end up hating me. Tristan, can I talk to you about our core values? Okay, so Tristan, what is your favorite Cardone Ventures core value? And could you give me a reason why? And also, I know that you probably are going to hate this whole thing, but you're going to do it anyway because you're freaking awesome. See, that's like the Tristan being awesome.
Yes. I would say my favorite core value is alignment. I just really like being a team, working together, all kind of knowing what we're driving to and what the end goal is. And I like being a team player, basically.
So, on a day-to-day basis, Tristan's in the marketing team. He's freaking awesome. On a day-to-day basis, what do you see that we do that creates the alignment that, like, the team does? How do you see alignment?
Well, I think one of the ways that we all like stay aligned is with the all team, the daily all team, and our marketing team. We meet every single day, and then the media team also meets. So just constantly checking in with each other, seeing how we can help each other, what needs to get done, and what are the priorities and that kind of thing. Just knowing like what we're driving to from the all team, like to every other micro niche department meeting. It's always, being pushed along.
Love this. So I ran our marketing department for like 2 minutes, and it was while you were being, like, you got brought on while I was being onboarded. On a scale of 1 to 10, how terrifying was it to work with me as head of marketing? I know nothing about marketing. I mean, I know a little bit, but not enough to run the department. A scale of 1 to 10, how terrified were you? You're like, oh my gosh, this person is not going to take over this department.
Well, it wasn't terrified. It wasn't terrified for that. It was also like I had just started, and I was like used to doing like freelance video, like working on like not like this, and working in like a structured like environment. So for that was more like what I was just wanting to make sure that I would fit in and feel good and crush it here. So a 6, I guess.
Was there a part of you moving from that environment into this environment, especially like during the core values presentation, where you're like, I don't know, like they're making me make a presentation about inspiration, discipline, accountability, alignment, transparency, results, like was there part of you that was like, this might be a little bit too much structure, where it almost made you like pause with it?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say I was a little like, I was like, wow, like this is like a lot. I was like, I hope that I'm gonna do well, because I don't know, I'm a little anxious, and I always want to do. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I want to kind of like do the best I possibly can. So I was just like, I didn't like with the core values and everything. I just didn't know if I would fit in at first, basically, and then by the end of it, I was like, no, I think it'll work. I think it's all gonna work out.
How long have you been with us?
I've been with Cardinal Ventures now since February, like last year. So, but basically a year and a half ish, almost.
Tristan's freaking awesome. And we now have JC. I have not prepped any of these team members, and also I'm not very prepped as I have, my slippers on, but I think you guys want the behind the scenes of like what this really looks like. So these are not paid actors. JC, are you a paid actor?
I am not.
Okay. So what is your favorite Cardinal Ventures core value and why?
Transparency.
Interesting. I think you picked something that somebody else did. I was like, everybody's picked a different core value. That's wild. Brandon, you're next. I saw Brandon poking in. Brandon's next. I was just putting him on notice. So, your favorite core value is transparency. How do you see transparency in the environment?
I like the fact that there, coaching me now, and I'm getting everything full circle. Transparency, because a lot of times things can get planned and carried out in different ways, and things change. But I like the fact that I can come to you guys and tell you, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think are next steps? Or you trust me enough to make a decision. That's probably my favorite part of it.
I love that. And well, so I know your interview process was a little bit different because you were a freelancer first, and then you went through the interview process. So when you did the core values presentation, because we're talking to business owners here who are probably not entirely sold yet on the core values process in the interview, when we were doing the interview for the core values, were you nervous and have apprehension with it? But then if you did, like, what caused you to move forward and now be with us for over 2 years? It's over 2 years, yeah.
I think it was different because most companies just kind of ask you the technical information, like, do you know what to do? And then that kind of just narrowed it down to the right environment, the people who are going to actually push with you. That's probably my biggest reaction from it, is that, like, you guys don't just hire anybody. you guys really take your time to curate it and make sure you get the right people.
Love that. JC's awesome. This whole team's pretty awesome. So let's go stalk Brandon, because I know Brandon does not want to do this, so that's why I'm going to make him do it anyway. Oh, Brandon. This is Brandon number 2 in my life. This is not Brandon number 1. Brandon number 1 I'm married to. This is Brandon number 2. What's up, Brandon number 2? I told you I was coming for you. Okay. Are you eating Chipotle?
This is Bole.
Oh, okay.
usually get a kid's bowl, but
Oh, wait. Hold on. You got to talk to the mic.
this is Bole. I usually get a kid's bowl, but I decided to treat myself today and get a full-sized meal.
Well, you deserve a full-sized bowl, Brandon. We're talking about core values. And so Brandon was also a part of the group that... Can I just, use this chair? I'm assuming I can. He's like, sure. He's Brandon. Jeez Louise. It's like, don't mind me. We're back. Brandon's part of the group. This is outrageous. No, we're good. Brandon was part of the group that I was running the marketing department when you joined, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. So, because I asked Tristan the same thing, where I was like, okay, anyway, I'm going to get to the other questions first. Brandon's awesome. So, favorite Cardone Ventures core value and why?
Oh, man.
You're holding this mic, dude. Not on the fluffy part.
I'm sorry. Oh, this is so tough. I think probably... Can I use 2? Just because I feel like they kind of go together. I like transparency and accountability. I like transparency and accountability.
Okay, why?
Because I feel like it's easier to be accountable for yourself and everyone around you when there's that transparency. And then transparency is cool because then it's like, everything that's going on, especially in a department where there's so much collaboration. It's nice to know that we're all being transparent with our priorities and how we work. And yeah.
Love it. So you can be honest now. I know that was honest, but when you first started working with us, I was responsible for the marketing team. You had just gone through this core values presentation, and then somebody who has never run a marketing department is now your boss. And it was a little bit of a wild time for that month before, thank God for Jeremy. Jeremy just showed up and did amazing things, still doing amazing things. What, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your confidence I made the right decision when you first started?
Your confidence in my confidence in you to lead the team?
Yes.
Pretty good, actually. I felt pretty good. If I were to rate it 1 through 10, I'd probably say an 8.
Tristan gave me a 6.
Oh man, he's hard. Tristan's hard.
This is why I love Brandon.
But I give an 8. You were super receiving of ideas, and you came up with some good ones yourself. And
Pretty terrible, but a few of them turned out.
I mean, I like them, but I'm always gonna support you. You're awesome. So that's what I'll do. It was cool. It was 8, and it was fun. Starting off with someone that didn't, know marketing the way that I guess they should, because to lead the team. I mean, yeah. But it was cool because I felt like I just had more space, I guess, to kind of do cooler things, and you were so well receiving. You're amazing leader.
10. Oh, now he gives me a 10. Tristan gave me a 6. He gave me a 10. Can you guys see? This is just a total side note, but will you come closer and look at what he's working on? Because I'm super excited about what he's working on. There's just a little preview for our health business. Okay, now that's too close. You don't get to see that much. We just wanted to show you a little bit. All right, Brandon, you're the best. Thank you for joining and being one of the employees in the wild. When you build something that's real, nobody can take that away from you. And what I think is so cool, they're in the wild, they're making calls. What is really cool is when you actually live into these core values. I have an immense amount of confidence talking to our team about what these core values are. I didn't prep them on remember, our core values are inspiration, discipline, accountability. I didn't have to tell them that because these things are really real in the environment. They have real experiences with what this looks like every single day. You heard daily all team meetings with our whole company, with the departments, having transparency and candor in conversations. And when you apply these successful principles to yourself, when you are these core values, they emanate to the environment that you are creating, because you can't be disciplined and be tolerant of an undisciplined environment. It doesn't make any sense. And so as you live into these things, I can assure you that the environment around you becomes those things. And that's how we've scaled this business. And I think you should do that way as well. With that, don't forget to subscribe. And I would love to know if you have an additional core value that you love that has helped you create success that I didn't list in my 6. Let me know in the comments. I'm super curious to know what else you've done and you've implemented as a core value that's made you successful.